such an amazing, powerful keynote, which almost had me in tears. So I hope I don't cry during my talk. So I think I should start with a little bit of background. I don't have, okay. A background about how I ended up from Finland to Michigan to talk about the Mexico border. So I have a long background in Latin American studies. And I also spent 3 years in New York at NYU as a visiting scholar. So during this time, I became familiar with U.S. journalism. And my current project examines U.S., Mexican, Guatemalan, Salvadoran, and Honduran journalists, how they are jointly investigating abuses against Central American and Mexican asylum seekers, and exposing root causes of forced migration. Good. Thank you, Joe. So I examined a total of 8 collaborative projects. Each of these involved partners from both sides of the U.S. Mexico border. And the collaborators in Mexico and Central America mostly include independent media, which pursue work unfettered by censorship and harassment, which is widespread in the region. So, as a background, according to past research, the reporting by the U.S. legacy media generally falls short of providing important background context for understanding root causes of forced migration. So I found that the coverage produced in cross-border collaboration is the answer to solving this shortcoming in U.S. reporting. Namely, the collaborative coverage manifests a diversity of backgrounds of migrants affected by violence, along with nuanced and individualized use of their victimhood and suffering. These details are skillfully intertwined with background context concerning societal circumstances and push factors of forced migration. Not yet, can you go back? Thank you. This important background context primarily originates in the critical investigative reporting by the Central American and Mexican journalists involved in the collaborations, building on their local knowledge and connections. And the collaborative coverage is also impactful, exposing abuses by powerful people while protecting vulnerable sources. So now let's move on. However, I also detected some shortcomings in the collaborative coverage. Specifically, I found that Mexican and Central American journalists have produced and published important and critical data and coverage in their independent reporting that was missing for most of the contents produced by the cross-border collaborative projects they participated in. Much of this missing context concerned U.S. foreign policy and its historical impact on the cycle of violence and forced migration in and from Central America. Can I get the next? Thank you. So why was this critical context missing from the collaborative coverage? I think the first possible reason is that the formats and norms of reporting were mostly imposed by media in the global north, which also funded and supervised all of the collaborations, which led to limitations of length, style, and form expression. For instance, in its collaboration with the New York Times, Salvadoran El Faro struggled to shorten scenes and find more straightforward ways to give readers context and background. Next. In its original reporting, El Faro has been dedicated to La Crónica Periodística Literaria, which is essentially a journalistic narration, which combines the aims for objectivity or factual reporting with narrative mechanisms of literature. And Mexican and Central American journalists also routinely overlap roles of journalism, activism, and academia. This is because it's among the world's most dangerous regions for critical journalists, activists, and academics alike. Security is a strong reason for investigative collaboration. Investigators in the region don't have time or resources for safeguarding institutional or professional boundaries. All the effort is devoted to the investigation itself and making an impact in the violent society that they live in. Here's one project from my sample. a collaboration between Univision and Faro, which allowed El Faro to use its traditional Crónica format. And this resulted in exemplary critical context and creative merging of different professional roles in the process. And I just want to quickly, again, recognize the work of the Center for Cooperative Media to increase knowledge about this kind of collaboration. So another reason why I think some critical context was missing from the collaborative contents I examined has to do with the fact that most of the collaborations were limited to virtual spaces versus in-person boundary crossing. The investigations conducted in in-person collaboration contained the greatest amount and depth of critical context in my sample. So I think we need to more critically consider whether virtual collaborations can facilitate similarly inclusive and contextual coverage as in-person collaborations, especially in global North-South cooperations. Oh, that was not supposed to be here, okay. Can I get the next? Okay, thank you. So to conclude, what's gonna happen next, I will test and expand the findings I just discussed, focusing on cross-field collaborations across the borders between U.S. and Mexico and the Dominican Republic and Haiti. I will warmly appreciate any comments and questions. Please come and talk to me or reach out or come to Finland. Thank you so much.